Hello, kindergarten, and welcome to your Flipped PLC for the week of November 8th through the 12th. I know that we will not be meeting together for this, but I want to remind us all of our norms as we operate, of course, being on task, having good intentions, being present, but most importantly, operating with a growth mindset. I know that we have jumped into quarter assessments for kindergarten, and I know that that's taken a lot of your time, a lot of your skill, a lot of your mental energy to not only create those assessments, but also administer them. So we want to thank you for continuing to have a growth mindset with that. I want to remind us of our process as we go through. And because you're doing quarter assessments, it is a little bit more lengthy to do this process initially as you go through your pre-assessment. Keeping in mind that you're not going to be doing this every week up until the end of the quarter because your assessment is larger and more comprehensive for the quarter as opposed to the other grades that give assessments bi-weekly. So although this process takes a little bit longer up front, you are saving time a little bit later, not having to go through multiple assessments. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take a look at your math Q2 pre-assessment that you administered to all students, and you're going to take a look at your class's strengths. Where were the positives? Where do we note that our students are already doing well at? Then we're going to look at the misconceptions. Now keep in mind the misconceptions are the gaps or the weaknesses that we're seeing. Where are our students stuck? Where are they not at mastery? And typically with a pre-assessment, especially in our younger grades, we're going to see a lot of misconceptions, gaps and weaknesses because they have not been exposed to a lot of this content yet. Then we're going to make inferences. That is the why. Why do we think that these strengths are present in our students? Why do we think these gaps and weaknesses are present? It could be as simple as they've not been exposed to this standard or this content yet, or maybe something a little bit deeper when it comes to gaps and weaknesses. And finally, we're going to strategy align. We have all this data that we've gathered for our students as a pre-assessment, and we're able to see strengths and weaknesses. And we need to decide how are we going to tackle some of these weaknesses in our lessons in instruction. And that's typically where the strategy alignment comes in. Now, again, with a pre-assessment, we understand that the strategy alignment piece may really be, I'm going to focus more on this part of this standard. And it may be a little bit broader and less in depth because students have not been exposed to content yet. However, when we get towards the end of the quarter and we begin to look back on post-assessment data, on some of the formative assessments you've given along the way, we may still see weaknesses and gaps in student mastery, and that's where we're really going to talk even more in depth about strategy alignment. How are we still going to continue to work on some of these gaps and weaknesses as we enter into quarter 3, but still keeping in mind that we have to move forward with grade level content in quarter 3 as well. So you are going to fill out one of these per teacher, just like you did for your ELA pre-assessment. You're now going to do it for your quarter 2 math pre-assessment. I'm going to give kindergarten 2 weeks to complete this, just because your assessment is a little bit longer in length. And so you will have right up until Thanksgiving break to make sure that you complete this. So you're going to list your standards. You're going to talk about your strengths, misconceptions, and inferences. And then as a team at the bottom, it's going to say strategy alignment, where you can discuss maybe specific areas that you're going to be focusing on a little bit more as we approach kind of the middle of quarter 2. And maybe some areas, maybe even some areas that you've already taught and that your students have improved in. That would be a point to write about on this sheet, because we know that we've given this pre-assessment and we've already begun teaching those standards too. So it's important to note that. So you're going to work independently on your own sheet, come together to talk about strategy alignment, and then you will submit that to myself, Trina, and Stacy. Thanks so much.